Why don't you just go out there and find a better opportunity? Why don't you just try a little harder? How come you can't figure out how to make thousands of dollars every 2 weeks? What's wrong with you? Oh God, look at this guy. He thinks he's a philosopher. Does he have any money? What kind of job do you have? How much are you making? What opportunities? The only opportunities available are opportunities of stagnation. There is not one job that is actually paying a livable wage anywhere. And the ones that are paying livable wages, they want you to do more than one jobs. You see, a job is one task, but the entire human species has been brainwashed into doing hundreds of tasks and then them labeling it as one job. A job is sweep the floor. A job is mop the floor. But when you go to apply for these jobs that people say are an opportunity, you're met with a laundry list full of jobs. And then they're just calling it one job, but then they pay you the lowest wage on the face of the earth. And then people turn around and say, you're lazy. How can you have an opportunity when everyone hates you? It's not good. Let's talk about dreams. Evil dreams. It happens all the time, especially if you're not high off of a substance. For some reason, the frontal lobe, the pineal gland, becomes affected when you smoke marijuana or do some type of a drug, blocking the interdimensional and extra dimensional frequencies, keeping you grounded here where you think you're safe, but you're not really safe. You're not safe anywhere. Whenever I stop smoking weed, the next day I'm instantly transported somewhere in my sleep. Something weird is always happening. Spirits are jumping inside of these dream people and making them poke at me, and they'll set up situations that don't make any sense and freak me out. And then they'll send me right back here in my bed to be a slave again in this dimension. Hauntings. Earth is haunted. You can see that Earth is haunted when it goes dark at night. Everything starts casting shadows and it looks ominous and run down. And all the streets are stretching as far as the eye can see. And then when you go to bed, you have evil dreams because this is an evil dimension. And these spirits are actually cowards and they jump inside of you when you're vulnerable. They won't come in face to face with you. And if they do, they'll hide. They'll masquerade around as children or women or bosses and even your parents, I believe. I've had dreams before where I've appeared in an endless water slide right on top of the Atlantic Ocean in broad daylight, and some of the water slide is submerged into the ocean, and some of it is sticking out and it's long and wide. And I just remember running through the tunnels and all the water filling up and me going crazy, scared, praying to God to help me, even though I shouldn't have to pray because he should already know. I smoke weed because I want to escape these transmissions where I'm constantly casted out of my body into dimensions unknown for reasons unknown. None of it has any meaning. It's all a recipe for insanity. Environmental issues, when you do wake up from your dream, our air isn't fresh, our water isn't fresh, our food isn't fresh. We have to look at the specific numbers on fruit to determine if it's been genetically modified or not, or if it's safe to eat. And if there are numbers like that on fruit, then that means that none of it's safe to eat. Because why would just a number be the determining factor on if they decide to put poison on it or not? It all falls short when you start thinking about it truly. Why would I bring children into a world where when I feed them carrots and apples and fruit, it's been poisoned to take the testosterone out of them and the estrogen? How can I say I love them when I already know before they're here? Global warming, it gets hotter every single damn year. They use that excuse for spraying chemtrails in the sky that forms those grid patterns in the sky. It supposedly spreads out after a long period of time, and it encapsulates the sky and gives it a gray tint. And they say that it's supposedly blocking the UV rays and bouncing it back into the atmosphere to prevent global warming. What are we even talking about here? So those are just a couple of problems. Let's move on to the cost of living. It's not possible. Just plain and simple, there's nothing more to be said about it. It's not possible. Things are more than 4 or 5 times the amount of what they used to be. And it's going to continue to get higher and higher every single year like it has. If I see that happening now, why would I bring somebody here? You constantly have to ridicule yourself and make a fool out of yourself at your jobs and be subservient to people who are younger than you, women or men, just so that you can live somewhere decent. To live in a box, actually. It's not decent. You have to do all that just to live somewhere that's not decent. I don't understand how these parents are birthing out children without even thinking about the depths, the long-term ramifications of their actions. After about 18 years, you're done with them. You're done with your children. Actually, when they're 16 years old, most parents are done with their children by the time they're 16. They're already threatening to kick them out and telling them that you better prepare for the real world, which doesn't make any sense because they should have prepared before they had you. That way, when it was time for you to face the real world, you'd be prepared. But instead, they saw the dark dimension for what it was and decided to turn a blind eye to it and just pop you out so that you can go through the hellish existentialism that they are going through. It's happening with our food. To buy a meal for 2 people at a shitty fast food restaurant costs the same as a gourmet meal. How are bums supposed to live? They used to depend on that to survive on the streets. And now it costs a fortune to eat 2 tacos and a drink. People's food stamps are all used up one time around. And there's still a whole month left. It's all sadistic and demonic and evil. And there hasn't been one good fucking thing that has been happening except for the things in which I create myself. If I stop moving, my hands or my feet or my body or my mind or my soul, then everything stops and it just is what it is, which is negative and it's demonic and it's evil. And then people want to cower and run away when I bring it to light. But how do you change something if you don't bring it to the light and talk about it? It's like living in a Groundhog's Day repetition realm where nobody wants to learn the lesson to go forward. And then here's the crazy part about the cost of living and the food prices and the environmental issues and the no opportunities. The biggest problem is the people who are in control, which are the 1%, they don't even care about their own race. The 1% will always be, and I hate to bring race into this, but it's true. It's not my fault. I didn't write the game, but it's always going to be either a white person or an Indian person. The Indian people, the Saudi Arabia people, I don't even know what to call them, but I do know that they have access to the oil, and the oil is it's one of the biggest money generating things ever. But of course, there's always going to be a white person at the very pinnacle. And when you realize that white people don't even care about their own people, that's when it becomes mind-blowing. I have white neighbors. I have went to school with white people. I have seen white people kill themselves. I've seen white crackheads. I've seen white trailer trash. I've seen everybody, every spectrum of white. And they're going through the same things as well too. They might have more opportunities, but ultimately they're all still being affected by the 1%, which is their own kind. But there is something beyond that. Once you realize that when 2 billionaires meet, they don't talk about race. So it's not a race thing, it's a money thing. It's a generational wealth thing. And if you were born, and it's about the haves and the have-nots. That's what it all comes down to. That's what it always has come down to. You think when 2 billionaires sit down at a marble table with wine, they go, "Oh my God, you're a nigger. Oh my God, you're a kike." No, they don't say that. They talk money. They talk business. They talk forming some type of alliance to perpetuate their wealth, which is predicated off of the suffering of other people. All this stuff is really hard to swallow. It's a very big, thick, and wide, dry pill to swallow. This is another reason why I'm an antinatalist, because it's all just absurd. It's hard, it's impossible to keep up with, and it's a recipe for disaster in the worst ways possible. I see it, don't you? And if you do see it, why would you consider having children?